Hello, and welcome to the Stitch Circle Show Challenge, and welcome to August month. If you're new here, a warm welcome to you, and of course also a warm welcome to you, other people, viewers, friends, Facebook friends, YouTube friends that are following along here. If you don't know what the Stitch Circle Show Challenge is, look here under the little word more under the video, and there you will find all the information you need. There are links to all the different things. There are links to a playlist with this challenge, and then there's an intro video, and then there's videos for every month. There are links to the Facebook group for this year's challenge. There is also a link for last year's Stitch Circle Show Challenge if you want to do it. The Facebook group for that challenge last year is closed, but you can still find all the info here under the video if you want to do it now, even though it was last year. But you can still do it. All the information is under the video here. And this year I have decided to only do it monthly, because last year was a big job to do it weekly, even though the pieces were much smaller. This year we are going bigger, but instead we have a whole month to do the stitching, and hopefully a lot more stitching on the single piece than we did last year. Last year, if you had done all last year, you have a book or you have a box or wherever you have your small samples of a big source of inspiration to look at. But I've chosen to do it differently this year. But I can show you what we have done so far here in this year in my book here. And there also is a link for how to make such a book to put your pieces in. But of course you can make a wall hanging, you can do whatever you want to do with your pieces. And again, if you're new here, my name is Lisbeth, and I'm a Danish abstract mixed media artist who likes to do many things. And I especially like to host these kind of different challenges and see what other people can come up with by following a simple set of Dogma rules. So the last little tip I want to say before we get started is if you want to support this challenge or support my channel here, my work with my channel here, you have the option, because I have made a Ko-fi account, and that also is a link here under the video. And in any way, don't feel obligated. It is free to do this challenge, but of course I'm very grateful for those of you who has been supporting me, so thank you from the bottom of my heart. But let us get started. I can start showing you what we have been doing already, and then perhaps you can see it if it's something for you. This was January, and again there are links for the playlist, and you can find exactly what the Dogma rules are for this challenge for January. And that was February, and that was the inspiration for that. I've just saved it here in the book. And here's March, April, May, yeah, it is so thick, this paper, June, and July. And here I am ready for gluing in what I come up with here for August. So this is the inspiration for August. This is a screen dome I have taken of an American painter called Jane Davis. And even though I'm not that colorful at all, and I won't be using the colors, but the way this is constructed, that is the way we are going for this week. Again, the traced circle, and 4 patches sewn together, traced a circle, the circumference out there, and then all these concentric smaller circles, but the thing about these circles here is that they are offset, so you can see this green, whoops, this green line there doesn't match up here, so they are offset all the way around. And if you, for instance, say this orange line there, or I will do that in one kind of stitching and in one color, and then I will make some spaces between. I don't want to just have color, color, color. I want to have a space between my lines. So I think, but I haven't done this before. It's it's also new to me. But the thing I've been thinking about is, since I want them quite solid, these colors I choose, I have chosen a thicker thread than I normally use, because I want to cover the areas and have some spaces in between, and then offset the lines. So you can take a screenshot for inspiration here, or I've tried to just for fun to draw one myself. And I know this is a space, for instance, the black lines, but they are too small. I want them a little bigger. But right now, it's just for showing what I'm talking about, because it is a little hard to explain. But that is what I will be going for. So yeah, away with that. So again, here I have my substrate. Yeah, and which stitches I want to use, I don't know yet that either. But of course, when I'm done with this sample here, I will put the Dogma rules are here under the video also. At that time, I know what stitches I will be using. This month here is a little different than the other months, because the other months I have totally figured out, or a big plan already in my head. And of course I have a plan here, but it's not fully developed yet. So, but it will be when I'm done, and then I will of course write it, and you can see what I'm doing here during the process. But again, my substrate here, 25 by 25 centimeter. My tin plate here, my circle, my plate from my kitchen. Mine is 22 centimeters, but some way between 22 and 20 centimeter in diameter you need to be able to trace a circle. But before we do that, I want you to take or find, I will just close my iPad here so it don't run out of power. Yeah, I want you to find 4 pieces of different fabrics and sew them together so they end up with 4 squares that are equal sized, and I end up 25 by 25 centimeters. And for me, I think the easiest way to do that is to find 4 pieces. I think that is too pale. And place them where I think I want them. Something like that. And then I will sew these 2 together, and sew these 2 together, and then sew this line together. And then I will find the center and place it here on my substrate, and then I can cut the rest off, because this fabric is very flimsy. If you have a very sturdy fabric, you can say 25 by 25 centimeter. How much seam allowance do I want? And then cut your pieces out exactly. So when you sew them together, if you, for instance, have a seam allowance at 1 centimeter, you know you need, yeah, the half of 25 centimeters is 12 and a half, and then you need a seam allowance on 1 centimeter. So you need to make the squares 13 and a half by 13 and a half on 2 of the sides, and only 12 and a half and 12 and a half on the other side. Or you can cut it off afterwards. I know I will be invisible, base this down, and before I trace my circle and start the fancy stitching, if you can say so. So I will sew these pieces, 4 pieces together here, and I think I will iron it so I can have the seam lying flat on the back sides. So that is the plan, the first step here in the plan. You can see I've just put pins in and drawn a line, so I'm sure I'm stitching on a straight line. And I can't remember if I told you, but whatever color, thread or fabric you use is totally up to you. I won't interfere with your color choices. I'm just doing my rusty color things as, or color scheme as I very much like, but you can do whatever you fancy to do. So I'm just taking some small running stitches, and you don't need to see me do that. Whoops, yeah, there, and sew all the way there, and then sew these 2 together, then flap it up and sew them together, so I will end up with a square. I will be back when I'm done with that. So the 4 pieces are sewn together, and I have just taken a pin and put it up here in the middle, and this is lying flat now. Then I have taken my back piece of fabric or my under substrate, and I've just creased it there and drawn a line, and creased it there and drawn a line, and here where the 2 small marks are crossed over each other, that is where I want this needle to come up. And hopefully I can hit, yeah. Pull it down here. So hopefully that means that if I'm turning, I think perhaps I will use a couple of pins here on the back side, that my 4 patches will be the same size on the front. Perhaps I have sometimes some funny ways of doing things, but that's just how my brain is working. And if there's another way for you to do this, or you are more into real measurement, do that. But I think this works. So let us go over here. Yes, they are sitting fine. So now I will just remove this, and I can just put it in here like this. So I will cut some of this overhang off now, and I don't think I will cut it more than up to there, because I know it will be fraying, because this fabric is very flimsy and very much want to fray. But if you have fabric that doesn't do that, take your scissor and cut it out, or take your rotary cutter and cut it out. I will just wait, as it's the last thing I'm going to do, because I know this is fraying. It is in recycled polyester and linen fabric, and it is very flimsy. And I bought it is for curtains, I think, but I could get it in 100 different colors, and it is quite wide also, but it is so nice to stitch into, because it's so thin and light. That's why I've bought just 25 centimeter of all the colors I liked. So I have a lot of it, but I think now I will just cut that off like this and do it all the way around, and then I can nurse it when I'm totally done with this piece here. But I will invisible baste this down. So I know the the pins are sitting there, but I think I can see it through here, so I can do it. I will show you how to do that. So ready for the invisible basting, and now you're in for a roller coaster. I will pull you in a little here. But my fabric is lying nice and flat, and I've just put some extra pins in. But let us see here. You who has been with me for a while probably know this, because I've shown it so many times. But you come up and you go a couple of threads back in the fabric, and you come up about a centimeter ahead of you, and then you have taken the smallest stitch on the front side and the long stitch on the back side. Again, up and a couple of threads back and up a centimeter ahead of you. That is all I'm doing, and you can see the long stitches here on the back. And I will just do that all the way around the 4 sides. And I also think I would give it a couple of stitches some other places, just to be sure it's lying flat. But I'm sure it will be lying flat as soon as I start all the stitching. And here now I can feel with my finger where the back fabric is, so I'm not going out. So I only just stitch in the front fabric. And I can also see it. I can see the light coming up through this fabric here. So that is a little more stitching, but when I'm done with that, we will have to trace some circles, and then I would have to figure out if I will do one area at a time, or however I will attack this and what stitches I want to use also. I think I want some stitches that can cover quite good. And as I said, that's also why I'm taking a little thicker thread than I normally use. And I don't have it in so many colors as I have in my normal thread I use. But we will see. See you soon. So done with the basting, and I also did some small basting stitches there, and one there, and one there, and one there. So now it is sitting totally neat and flat and nice. And I'm ready to trace my circle. And I have been investing in such a friction pen that disappears when I put a hot iron on it. So I will try to use that. So again, I will take my plate here, and now is the tricky part to find the substrate so I can see I'm in the middle. The way I got about to do this is I flipped this up and put some needles in so I can see the back fabric that was 25 by 25. And I think right now this distance here is the same as this one. And the same here. And the same here. Perhaps I'm going on down a little there. You can take your index finger and see if it's, I will go for this, and cross your fingers, for I am in as good as in the middle. I haven't been using this pen before, but I've just been out teaching here, and some of my students had this pen, and they buy it in a, yeah, we have some, yeah, a place where you can buy things for your house and building materials and paint and all sorts of things. Yeah, so far so good, and I think it looks quite fine. So now I will just do some running stitches in the circumference. And I think I forgot to say here when I was invisible basting. Now here in my case it doesn't matter very much, because it's I am taking an off-white thread, and you can't see it in any of the 4 squares I have sewn together. But if you have 4 very different kind of colors, change color. So you pick a thread color, or pick a thread that is in a color of the fabric you're basting down. You will be much more happy about it, because then the stitches won't be so visible. It's a quite thick thread to pull through here, but I think it goes. So it is just following the line, and I will do that all the way around, and then I reach about, yeah, let me come in closer. When I reach about there, I would eyeball it so the last stitches will be about the same size as the ones I have done here. So trace the line and make a round of running stitches, and then the tricky part, or the part where I have no idea so far what I will be doing. Yeah, I know I have to make some lines, so I know I have to sew inside them, but how and why and where, and yeah, I don't know yet. So I've been all the way around, and I think I want to whip these running stitches so they will have the name whipped running stitches. So I just came up in where I started, and then I take the, yeah, let me see if I can go in a little closer. Yeah, that's better. The eye of my needle instead of the peak or the point of my needle here, and then I will just go in it here, there, and I always come from the same side. So now I'm coming from up. If you start by going under, go under all the way around and not change, because then the whipping will look a little strange. So that is all I'm doing, and that gives it a little more definition, I think. And since I will probably do a lot of tight or close stitches here in this piece, I think it is good with a more visible line here all the way around. But I will do that, and then I will decide the next step. So this is how the line looks now, and I'm satisfied with that. So I think I will go for starting in the middle and do one of the 4 squares at a time. But to start here, I think I will use this. I have these different templates and I have them in different sizes. If you don't have that, you must rumble around in your house and find some different things you can trace after. But for me, it's about that these 4 areas are different in size. So I will just take the friction pen again here. And mark. There. And I think the only thing I will do here in the middle, and I know I would do one area at a time, I would just make a 1/4 of a blanket stitch wheel there first and see how that looks, and if I like that. And I've just taken my brown thread here that was in my needle. So here we go. I just come up here and I go out in the stitched line there. Whoops, and I'll just put you a little in here. You always start in the circumference when you're doing blanket stitch wheels. You don't start in the middle, which is perhaps a little strange if you haven't done them before, but so yeah, that looks much better. That the other thing there didn't look nice. I'm glad I changed my mind. Yeah. And then I will just go down because I need to take another color. So now it's secured there. And I will just go up here also. Whoops, not so tight. And just pull that thread, this first thread, down here. So that probably also just looks nice. So that is much better. But the other thing was too much. So I will take a new color and do the same stitch in here, and here are all the leftover small schnullers pieces. I do the same in the 3 other areas with 3 different threads, and when I'm done with that, I will show it to you. You can see it isn't a totally round circle. Here it is offset all the way around, so now I can start here by find some place where I can make the space between here, or I could just eyeball it and draw a line and say that is that. That is up to you if you will do it one way or the other way. But I think I will go for this. So that is the space where I won't be doing any embroidery. And now I need a line here of some kind, and I'm beginning to think this is too small. This one here. So let me see here if I take a bigger one here. Yeah, for instance here. Or we can say here. So when I draw a line there, I will do something here in between here, these two lines there. And what kind of stitch could I possibly figure out to do there? I've taken this orange piece here, so yeah, I did write back here what different stitches I was thinking of doing. So yeah, let me think a little. There are many different stitches I could turn to, but since I'm starting with the blanket stitches in here, I think I will see if I can make some different ones and perhaps some open feather stitches also later. But for this one, I think I will do 2 rows of blanket stitches where I make them double, so I put the legs in here between each other. So I think that is what I will be going for here. So I will just start this up here, come up, and then I will go down here and up in nearly the same area again here. So that was the first leg, and now I will just make them quite close to each other, I think, and hit the line here, there. There. And there. And there. There. I ain't going to sew all this, but I want to show it when I do the other side of this. There. Whoops, sorry for shaking you. There. I'll just go down here. And you can see I'm nearly hitting this line there, but it's not exactly the same place. Then I will turn it around and do exactly the same. I come up here and make the first stitch where I just go in here and come up at the same place. That's not a blanket stitch yet, it's just to have that leg here so I can start. And then I go in between here and hit the line again there. In between the legs and hit the line there. And in between here and then the line. In here and then the line. In here in the line, and that ends up looking like this, and I really like that. So I will stitch that through and draw the next 2 lines and figure out what to stitch there. And I think I will stitch this area up here, and when I've done that, you do exactly the same, or not exactly the same, because you have to have different spaces and with different widths here in these, and because not now I have this kind of stitching there, I won't do the same kind of stitching there and there and there. I will mix and match the different stitches on the different places, and I will also change color exactly as I feel for. So it will give that image as the picture I showed you in the beginning of the video. That look yummy. And now I think I want to do these here. It's also a blanket stitch, but it's looking like a little triangle, and then I can put them the other way. So I have this first stitch is just to prepare. So I will come up and go down there and come up in the same, and don't take that like anything else, like a stitch to prepare. So now I will go down here in the middle and in the loop. That was the first triangle. Go down here in the same and out there. There you have the first little triangle. So I'll do exactly the same again. Go down and come up here. Yeah, let me see here. Down there and come up at the same place again. There. And in the line, there. And the last stitch. Yeah, that was a little too small. There. There. And little preparation stitch here. There. Down in the same, in the middle. There. And the last one. So we will have a peak. I don't know if this stitch has a name. If it has, I don't know of it, but it is a kind of blanket stitch. But I will do this all the way around there, and then I will do it so the peaks go in there. And then I will be back. I'm done with this here, and I think that looks nice. So I have just taken my pen and drawn the lines free-handed because, yeah, I think that it was easier, and they would disappear as soon as I set my hot iron on it. So don't take care of that if you have some mistakes, if you have such a pen here. But now I've changed color, and here I think I will go for the blanket stitch again and do it like this, but instead of they are going in like this, I will make a long one and a short one opposite each other. So I will just come up here and make it a short space between them, I think also. And this is just the preparation stitch here, or the ground stitch. So now I'm ready. Often when I'm stitching around and round, I don't start with a stitch like that, but here in this case I will. So now I'll take a short one. A short leg, you can say. There. And now I will take a, how long can that be? Because if I say that and that, yeah, about there, I think. We'll just have a look here. And see, yeah, there are room for a little one there. I think this is fine. But I think I can make them a little closer. So this is how it goes, a long and a short and a long and a short, all the way to the other end. Blanket stitches. Yeah, when I'm done here and start in this end again, I will show it to you. I have these two areas to stitch. This is a narrow strip or curved line, or what we can call it, a arch line here, and this is wider. And I think here in the white one I want to do blanket stitches again with perhaps 4 legs and a little space, and 4 legs and a little space, but not to go all the same here. I think I will go for the, yeah, some people call them closed feather stitches and other call them closed chain stitches, if I translate it from Danish. I don't know the proper name, but I perhaps can find out and tell you in the next clip, or I can tell you in the text when I write down what different stitches you have to use. But it goes like this, and you in fact start like you start a feather stitch, and I think I will make them quite narrow, if you can say so. You come up and go down and come up in the line and in the loop, and that is like you are doing a feather stitch. So and now if I was doing a feather stitches, I would go out there and do the same, but now again I will go up where go down where I came up, and come up at the line there and go into the loop there. So it goes like this. So again I will go in here and come up and go in the loop. It's like small triangles lying. Doot, 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 doot. So again I will go in here where I come up and come in the line and go in the loop there, go down here, up at the line and in the loop and there. So it's a mix of, I can't quite figure out why people call it closed chain stitches, but because I don't think it has much to do with chain stitches. I can see the feather stitch, but I can also see the loop thing here is exactly like you do when you're doing blanket stitches, and that is why I think it fits nicely in here with the other blanket stitches. All of the things stitches I mentioned in the Facebook group, I will put in drawings, so perhaps you can better see it there. So in there and up and in the loop. It's a quite nice stitch to sew, especially if you not are sitting under a camera and holding things a little strange like I'm doing now, but I like to sew this stitch. So here we go, like that. So I will do that all the way down here, and perhaps I can see I should have taken a straight stitch there to close it off, but I can do that when I'm done. And I also started a little big, but yeah, you have to start. I will show it to you when I'm going all the way to the other end here. That looks very nice. This, yeah, I will call them closed feather stitches, I think. So here for the last piece, I think I will go for, yeah, I'm out of frame here, I can see 4 very long stitches from that line to that line, and then a long space here so I could do the opposite the other way. So again, blanket stitches in another way. You can vary this stitch in so many ways. So it's not quite as nice to sew with this thread as the other one. It is not so smooth and soft, and I chose it because I wanted a little thicker thread than the one I normally sew, because I want to cover pretty much, it's not the whole fabric, but yeah, you know what I mean. That was 4, and then I would go here. Just that long stitch there. So it's a long stitch there, and again 4 of them. But I will do that all the way down here, and then I will go back the other way exactly the same way. Or perhaps I will make them a little smaller. I don't know that yet. We will see. I have tried some different things and none of them worked, so I like it. But one thing I know I will do is at that line here, I will just do some two back stitches so the line is closed. So it looks a little more neat. And then perhaps I can do some cross or something in that space there. It looks like the disc of a clock. There's only the numbers missing. So that was this line here. And let me see if that doesn't look better. Yeah, I think that looks better. So I will think I will do this, yeah. You can try to do a cross here in the middle, or perhaps a little star, or because I don't want to go from there to there. It would be a long stitch. So let us see here. I'll start with a diagonal or a vertical stitch and a horizontal stitch. That's perhaps more like a plus, and it's and if I want to make it to a star, I will go diagonal. Yeah, I think I like that better than any of the other things I have done. So again, I'll just come up, go down. Yeah, and it doesn't really not matter which order you do this in. Do it as it is easiest for you. I think we made this stitch in one of the other months. So this was a tough one, this one here. I'm so tired in my head, and I think I will stop for today and do something the next couple of days. And I can just sew this here and show it to you, and then I can talk about yeah, I can talk about it now. I can come a little up here and in here. So now you can see this is done in the middle, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different things. So these 5 different ways of stitching I want you to use in all the 3 other areas, but where you put them and in which color you stitch, that is up to you. And if you want to make this wider and this narrower, that's also up to you. But you have to have the 5 different, what is this? Strip, for me a strip is this way, but these curved lines here at all the 3 other places. And don't start and do it like this. You have to offset it so you start different places, like the photo at the beginning of the video. So, but I think I will draw all the lines here on when I start stitching the next time, and I can show you how mine will end up looking with the drawn lines. So yesterday evening I finished this piece here, and it was a little bumpy or needed some blocking. So I have a felt substrate here with some thick layer of paper under. So I just placed it and pinned some small needles in it, stretch it out and put needles in it, and sprayed it with a little water. And it has been sitting there since yesterday evening, and now it's dry, so I can remove the small pins here. If you don't have such a felt substrate here, use your bed or anything you can put needles into. Perhaps you have one of these, I don't know what it's called in English. It's some white materials, like yeah. How can it, often if you buy things, they can be packed in it. But you can also stitch in that, or you can use these layers you can put on your floor like a puzzle, so it's easier for you, or more nice to stand on the concrete floor perhaps. Yeah, there are many ways, but now this is so good, so I can glue it in my book. So I will quickly find my book and show you. So yesterday evening I finished this piece here, and it was a little bumpy or needed some blocking. So I have a felt substrate here with some thick layer of paper under. So I just placed it and pinned some small needles in it, stretch it out and put needles in it, and sprayed it with a little water. And it has been sitting there since yesterday evening, and now it's dry, so I can remove the small pins here. If you don't have such a felt substrate here, use your bed or anything you can put needles into. Perhaps you have one of these, I don't know what it's called in English. It's some white materials, like yeah. How can it, often if you buy things, they can be packed in it. But you can also stitch in that, or you can use these layers you can put on your floor like a puzzle, so it's easier for you or more nice to stand on the concrete floor perhaps. Yeah, there are many ways, but now this is so good, so I can glue it in my book. So I will quickly find my book and show you. I quite forgot I had to cut the edges clean or some of it off because it's a little too big. So all I will do is take my ruler here and follow the line of the back fabric and cut it. Yeah, do it like this, and I will do this on all four sides, but I will be doing it off camera because it is sliding a little around. But I will be back in a second. It was much better. So now I will have to center it here on my page the best I can, and I think here is fine. And I've just been in my fridge and taken my wallpaper paste out, and I think it needs a little stir. So I will just do that. It is hot here in Denmark right now, so I keep it in the refrigerator so it can taste a little. Not taste. Don't eat it. Don't eat it. So it can be good for a little longer and hold a little longer. So I will just lift that up here and put a layer of it down here. It's a very nice way to glue fabrics onto paper using wallpaper paste, because if I decide at some point I don't want my pieces here in this book, I can quite easily remove it and you won't damage either the fabric or your book. Don't put a fat layer on, because then it can seep up through the fabric. Oh, sorry, but it's a long stick here on my brush. But just a nice layer, and then zoop, put it down and lie it flat, and do exactly the same here on the other side. Put glue on here and put it down. That is all I'm doing. So I will take some close-ups here at the end of the video and tell you a little about what I think about this month's challenge. So it is sitting there and it has to dry a little, but to sum it up, what the rules is that here for this August piece. Sew 4 pieces of fabric together, so you end up with a square with 4 squares there, where the whole piece is 25 by 25 centimeters. When you have done that, trace a line, the circumference, so the diameter is between 20 to 25 centimeters. When you have done that, do running stitches in the circumference and whip them. Then you have to, in each of the 4 squares, make 5 bands in different widths and with perhaps different spaces between them. 5 of them in each of the 4 squares, and you have to make them so they end up not getting lined up. You have to offset them, so to say. I can't explain it any much better than that, because my English isn't so I can do it better than this, but I think you can see it here, and you can certainly see it on the inspiration piece. And I have used 6 different colors, and you can use whatever colors you want and how many you want. The most important thing is that you have 5 band widths here with some space between, and that they are not lined up like nice circumferences, all the circles. They have to be offset like here. And then I have used 5 different stitches, or 5 or 6. The blanket stitch as a wheel, double blanket stitches where I'm going inside the middle here, and here I've used a kind of blanket stitches that ends up like a little triangle. Here I've used blanket stitches, double blanket stitches again, but every second one was smaller and larger and smaller and larger, and the opposite the other way. Here, and I've just checked it, this is closed feather stitches. The big internet says so. And here I've used again blanket stitches with 4 very long legs, and at the inner side I've just made 2 back stitches here where there wasn't any stitching, and then I've made some small stars there. That is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different kind of stitches you're going to use here. If there's one of the stitches you really don't like, you can exchange it with another version of a blanket stitch. There are several other versions of that you can use, but that is the rule for this August month here. I think here in the hindsight, I think it ended up quite nice, but it's not so delicate as some of the other embroideries I've been doing here, and that is probably because I've chosen to use this heavy thread compared to the thread I normally use, and I think it works, but perhaps it would have been more delicate if I have used my normal thread. I don't know, and I have no intention of making another one. So it's up to you to decide what kind of threads you want to use. So think of that before you choose. But it's a quite funny way to make a circle that is a circle, but it offsets the width, the band width here. I think that it was fun to sew it and construct it also. So this was August month Stitch Circle Show Challenge, and I hope you have been inspired, and I hope you like the challenge here and will give it a go yourself. And I hope to see a lot of different circles in the Facebook group, and perhaps also on Instagram. Use the hashtags I have written here below. And if you're not on social media, and I totally understand if you don't want to be there, I have opened up the community tab here on YouTube, and you find it just under the banner photo here. It says community tab, and in my case I can't see it on my iPad. I don't know why, but I can see it on my phone and on my personal computer or my PC, and that's perhaps why these two things has much bigger memory than my little iPad has. I don't know why it is so, but it is. But I can see I need to iron this. There's a line there, so that will go away. But I will do that afterwards. But if you have been inspired and you liked what you have been seeing here, please give my video a thumbs up, and please consider subscribing my little Danish channel. That would be very much appreciated. Hit the notification bell and give me a comment about what you think of this and that. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me. I will gladly ask anything about what this is about and other crafty things. So right now I will just say, please be playful and creative, and please be nice to yourself and everybody else around you. That's the only thing we people can do here in these crazy times right now. Be nice to everybody. So I don't think I will say much more than goodbye for now, and take care, and see you maybe in a little while, but perhaps if not next month. So take care. Bye bye.